Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. There's an awesome clip, and let me check my sound before I start. While I do this, if you guys enjoy what I'm putting down, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support the content through Patreon. This thing is throbbing like nobody's business. I was in a ATV accident. The guy who I was riding behind stopped short, and I tried not to hit him, and in order not to hit him, I contorted the vehicle. The thing flipped over. There's a video of me taking a face plant where I'm wearing my hat, just like blam, just face in. But brutal and painful, epic pain. It's like Herculean pain. But I bear it well, and I still do the news. So this is an awesome clip, and I saw this clip on Secular Talk, so I'm giving Kyle credit on this. And I'm putting the link at the bottom of the video. David Chappelle and Ben Jealous are on CNN, and David Chappelle is making this point about Trump country, and he's making an awesome point that I myself have experienced in talking to people who are Trump supporters, and that they talk about that they don't necessarily get. The Justice Department and all these other people, Democrats, want to talk about Russians. It's not the goddamn Russians. It's not the Russians. It wasn't the Russians that stopped Hillary Clinton from going to Wisconsin. It wasn't the Russians that stopped, that got Democrats to pass NAFTA and said that NAFTA was going to bring all these jobs and all this other stuff. It wasn't the Russians that was out there drone bombing and drone striking. None of those things were the Russians. It wasn't the Russians that had Citigroup filling its cabinet with bankers after running a campaign screaming about hope and change and ripping his shirt off. No, none of those things were the Russians. All of those things were homegrown. You have political parties that completely decouple themselves from the public itself. And they allow this kind of rapacious raping of the public by the private sector. I'm going to talk about my own experience with this person, but I want to play David Chappelle because I want to play off of what David Chappelle is saying here, and I think this is an awesome clip. So shout out to Cal on this clip. If I can find the clip. There we are.
People don't know. You live in rural Ohio. People think of you.
Let's see. And
this urban legend, you actually live in rural Ohio.
Yes, I do.
And now we're, 2 years in. The economy has gotten better than it's continued to get better. What would you say to those folks who are still big Trump supporters today as we go into the midterm?
This is a tough question for me, Van. I got to tell you, first of all, the town that I live in is a small town.
Yes.
And it's like a little blue Bernie Sanders Island in the Trump Sea. They love Donald Trump. I don't even know that they love him as much as they're frustrated, they're fed up, and a lot of these white people feel like their voices don't matter anymore.
Right there. He's talking about white rage. Now, I'm always a little iffy with the white rage thing. It's real, it's true, and I've experienced it when talking to people, and fact is, I don't know if it's so much as they love Trump as they hate the Democratic Party. And you must understand, there's a distinction in those things. Meaning, if they were giving a left-wing option, they might have chose that left-wing option, but they weren't going to choose a Democrat. They weren't going to choose the people who left them to the side while speaking to this feel your pain language, while at the same token passing NAFTA and protecting the bankers while letting homeowners go bust. No, they understand, regardless of what Democrats say when they speak in this language as if we're on your side, while at the same token being assiduously in the hands of capital and cash. Choose your side. Whose side are you on? You have a group of people who believe that their voice in the political process has been completely decapitated. You also have a group of people who believe that the American dream applied to them, meaning whites. and believing American dream applied to them. When they realized that the issue here wasn't an issue of race, but the issue of class, they became disillusioned with the American dream. Oh my God, I've fallen apart. Now, Chris Hedges kind of makes this point that African Americans, James Baldwin makes this point, that African Americans don't necessarily have a midlife crisis because we already understand that the game is rigged against us. Whites were surprised. Whites were surprised. I had a conversation with a Trump supporter. Guy's a friend of mine. And this was before I left. He was a nurse. And him and I'm like, why? Like, him and I would talk, and we would find common ground on all sorts of issues. Like the anger that both of us had towards the political system was legit. And the rage that he had towards the political system was legit. Whether or not he paid attention to each and all of the permutations of politics, he understood he was being fucked over by the political system. He understood that the society itself was being fucked over by the political system. And Donald Trump was an axe. It was a club. It was this thing that could punch the elites in the face, because those are the people that fucked them over for the past X number of years. The rage was real. I understood it. I was pissed off myself, maybe for slightly different reasons. I asked them though, I said, but you understand that Donald Trump is not going to give you any of these things that you're talking about. And he said what I think is the point. There's nobody out there for me. There's nobody out there for me. Let's say his name is Bob. He says there's nobody working for Bob. And if there's nobody working for Bob, then why should I care about the way it is? Let it burn. That's an interesting sentiment. And I've said those words myself, let it burn. I can understand where he's coming from with this. I said, but say for the moment that you were $20 trillion in debt. Say for the moment that you had health care. Say for the moment that your kids that you have can go to school without putting $50,000 of debt on your back. Say for the moment that the roads and the bridges were being built, that the money and the resources of the society was used in the society itself. Would you feel differently? Maybe. He told me, he said, in conversations with you, I've become less conservative. That shocked the shit out of me because the guy was always far to the right, more so in the libertarian camp, but far to the right. He says, in conversations with you, in conversations with one of my neighbors, I've moved further to the left. But the anger and the rage at the Democratic Party establishment is legit. And the fact is, Sanders may get that vote, not a Clinton. It's not the goddamn Russians. Your problem is not the goddamn Russians. And pretending that the problem is the Russians is going to persist this problem. The United States is concerned about a revolution, and it's concerned about this. But revolutions tend to start from forces within the country itself. The Russian Revolution was started because of the amelioration of the workers in that society, pushing them into a certain degree of, especially with the context of the war, the First World War, and the poverty and the hunger and all this other stuff. There were other items that were pushing these people into this thing. Germany assisted, but Germany's assistance was only workable with Lenin. I've said this poorly. Germany assisted Lenin in propagating the Russian Revolution, but that was only possible because of how bad the Tsar treated the people of the country itself. These revolutions are usually only available because of forces that are in the country itself. I suggest to you the same thing is true here in the United States. If you attend to the workers themselves in the country, if you attend to the people of the country, if you attend to the 99%, much of this chaos would subside. But that's not the way we run our political affairs. Brian, the person is right. Bob is right. There's nobody in the political system that is looking out for Bob. And because there's nobody looking out for the political system for Bob, Bob is okay with an axe being used in the political system. This is the same thing with Brexit. This phenomena, if there was a left-wing option, they would have taken it. There is a reason that Bernie Sanders was beating Donald Trump by like double digits, but Hillary Clinton lost profoundly, magnificently, embarrassingly. There's a difference in those things. One person is an ardent supporter of workers and the poor and the 99%. And even if nothing else, even if they disagree with him, understand what I'm saying, even though they disagree with him, they think he's being earnest. So they say, I trust that guy. That guy has said the same tune for the past 40 years. I trust that guy. Can you honestly say the same thing about the Democratic Party? The party that cheated Bernie Sanders, that passed NAFTA after selling it as this thing, this panacea for workers. And it passed Obamacare. Obamacare was an improvement, yes. But this incrementalism isn't enough. That's not hope and change. Protecting the bankers while letting homeowners go bust. It's not hope and change. There needs to be a profound change, a radical re-understanding of the way that we organize ourselves in this society. It needs to start now. The issue is not the goddamn Russians. Let's see if anybody's here. I don't think anybody will be here this early. Jay Scott, Green Party has failed for decades. Oh, they're fighting about the Green Party. Darren Levy, dream ticket will be Trump and Sanders. They could call out both sides. No, that's not a dream ticket. Feminist News Network, the Green Party and the Independents have ideals and values that the Democratic Party needs to take on before they can fail us yet again. That's why Democrats are pushing progressive. You know, Sam Cedar and Packman of the world, and Ben Dixon, who's essentially a hanger-on at this point, has gotten to the point of, instead of dealing with the issues that are affecting people themselves, meaning the issue here is not that people aren't voting for Democrats. The issue here is that Democrats have failed magnificently. There's a difference in those things. That needs to be attended to. You can't voter shame in order to get people to vote for you. Those voters are going to vote for you if you're supporting and representing their interests. And if you don't, you can't necessarily wag your finger at them. So I'm going to end this here. I'm going to end this here because I don't want this one to go too long or much longer than it has. David Chappelle in Trump country nails the issue. Just saying. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support the Patreon. Thanks all.